if you are active and energetic and show signs of good metabolic health, the benefits that you will derive from fasting and keto are vastly less than someone who has metabolic damage. This Breather Show is about rethinking restrictive dietary strategies. And by restrictive, I mean restricting the time period in which you eat with intermittent fasting, restricting calories, restricting macronutrients like carbohydrate, low-carb, ketogenic diet, and my rethinking of it in recent times. And so 2022 began a big experiment to swap out my typical morning fasting period that I've been adhering to for at least a dozen years since immersing into the ancestral health primal blueprint scene. That was my typical pattern, was to not eat much of anything in the morning hours, maybe nibbling on dark chocolate or having a bite here and there, but then I would prepare my centerpiece meal in midday. And so by banking these fasting hours in the morning, I was honoring the ancestral health message that fasting periods can help improve your metabolic flexibility and your overall metabolic health, disease prevention. But it's really emerging now, and I'm going to go over the message from many of the great leaders of the movement, where this idea that fasting equals metabolic benefits is being reconsidered, especially among the healthy, active, fit population. So as you've probably heard me talk about on this show, my mantra for a healthy, happy, long lifestyle is perform, recover, perform, recover. And that means that I want all or almost all of my stress resources to be directed to my ambitious fitness goals. And I do not want to overload the stress side of the scale with stressful dietary practices. And the mechanism by which these restrictive diets provide health benefits is by calling upon the stress response. So when you are fasting, you kick into stress mechanisms to fuel your brain and your body with energy and make ketones and all that great stuff. Even fat metabolism is a stress mechanism, as pointed out by Jay Feldman. So I was inspired by Jay to begin this experiment, as well as many other people, and paying attention to the evolving message that many of the leaders are sharing. And so my experiment began in around May of 22 to deliberately cease my fasting practice and instead start my day with a giant bowl of fresh fruit and a giant high-protein, energy-dense smoothie featuring, of course, my B.rad whey protein plus creatine superfuel. And I take typically 3 scoops of that. I think the label says take 1 or 2, but I'm getting a lot of protein in the morning, a lot of natural, nutritious carbohydrates, mostly from fruit, putting in some yogurt into that smoothie as well, and then the bowl of fruit, and then I have frozen fruit in the smoothie. So I am getting highly fueled every morning, and that promotes a more active, energetic lifestyle with better recovery from my ambitious workout program. It's been a fantastic, smashing success to the extent that I am no longer going to prioritize the need for me to skip meals in the name of health, nor restrict access to natural, nutritious carbohydrates. And I've even picked up interesting habits, such as nibbling on high-quality dried fruit throughout the day, where this stuff has been in the evil category for a long time, per the ancestral health boilerplate of rejecting especially fruit because it can be lipogenic, fat-forming when you have full glycogen stores. And so these messages are largely applicable to an inactive, overfat population. And so we have this horrible problem in modern life of energy toxicity, not burning enough calories, and eating too many. And that's what's driving these preeminent diseases that are the biggest killers in modern times. But if you are active and energetic and show signs of good metabolic health, the benefits that you will derive from fasting in keto are vastly less than someone who has metabolic damage and carbohydrate dependency, thereby skipping meals, minimizing the intake of nutrient-deficient processed foods is going to unlock tremendous health benefits. So I am not in that category. Therefore, I start my day with this big dose of food. And as a course of this experiment, I've gone out of my way to consume more total daily calories, especially more carbohydrate calories every day for a year and a half. And the results of the experiment have been fantastic. I feel like I have more energy. I perform better. I recover more quickly. I have not quantified the experiment in the manner that my former podcast guest, Ryan Baxter, has, but he very carefully proceeded on a similar experiment where he consumed 700 additional calories per day of nutritious foods, completely nutritious foods, not extra Slurpees or hot fudge sundaes. But he did this for 1 year, and everything is highly quantified in his spreadsheets. And he reported at the end of the year, he weighed the same and had almost identical body composition. So the question is, where did those additional calories go? And the thought could be that they go to promote a more active, energetic lifestyle with all those important dials turned up and optimized. And we've talked about the dials during my interviews with Dr. Herman Poncer in his book, Burn. It's reproduction, repair, growth, and locomotion are these 4 very important dials. I'm making the analogy for the notion that when we get insufficient calories or overdo it with fasting or overdo it with any form of stress overload in life, we're going to turn down these important dials and experience compromised health. So repair, growth, reproduction, reproductive fitness, and locomotion are the 4 dials. And when I say locomotion, that encompasses all manner of exercise, movement. Reproductive fitness would be libido, or for females, you see the most extreme example of turning down the dial is the loss of menstruation by elite female athletes whose body fat levels get too low, and so they lose their reproductive fitness. And whether or not you are thinking of reproducing now or any time in the future, the loss of reproductive fitness is a key indicator that your life is out of balance and your stress is overloaded, because our most prominent biological drive is to reproduce. And so that's a great proxy for the overall stress-rest balance and health aspects of your life is to track that reproductive fitness. So I'm going to contend that my dials are all turned up nicely in my effort to consume extra calories and do away with fasting periods, thereby opening up, extending my fasting window. And I'm not careful or precise about this, so I often will eat calories too close before bed to recommend on a podcast, but I don't care because I'm enjoying a movie and a night at home and having some popcorn, and maybe I'll go to bed an hour later, or I don't really like going to bed a half an hour after slamming an evening treat. But the point is, I have loosened up the purse strings, especially with carbohydrate intake, bringing fruit from the marginalized part of the ancestral message right into the centerpiece of my diet and going out of my way to eat more and more. We're also enjoying lately going to the farmers markets and buying these great sourdough breads from home-baked products that are natural, nutritious, and so vastly easier to digest than the gluten-laden, heavily processed stuff that you find at the store. And I find no problem personally, especially pan-frying it in gourmet olive oil and using that as a delivery vehicle for all the other wonderful foods, especially my high-priority, nutrient-dense animal foods like red meat and wild-caught fish and all the other good stuff that's on our plate. So that is my plug for eating more, moving more, and doing away with the restrictive aspects of popular diets if you are active, energetic, and in good metabolic health. Thanks for listening for this quick reminder, this quick hit, and we'll talk more about that in other breather shows to keep you focused. But don't be afraid to eat more nutritious foods. And of course, it goes without saying, and a good way to close it here is that the number one priority is to eliminate the heavily processed, nutrient-deficient foods that will screw up your metabolic health and send you into a tailspin of all kinds of problems, especially accumulating excess body fat. So I'm talking about eating more good foods, being more active. Thanks for listening, watching.